How are you?
Good, you?
Good. Thanks for all your hard work. I appreciate that.
Conservative Jeff Watson is the first ever auto worker elected to Parliament. He claims a share of the credit for bailing out the industry and hopes it will help him to a fifth straight victory in Essex.
We have a solid record on everything from the auto industry to a new international bridge. We've delivered billions in investments here, and if they want an influential voice here in Essex, then I encourage them to vote for Jeff Watson.
Good morning. Hello. NDP.
Tracy Ramsey is an auto worker too. She's worked 19 years on the line at the Ford engine plant and lived through a temporary layoff as well. The union's backing her attempt to take the seat for the NDP.
We need someone who's going to fight for people, stand up for people, push for jobs, someone who's going to protect our public health care, and someone who's going to be a true voice of the people of Essex and bring that voice to Ottawa in a way that represents all of the diversity inside of our riding, and I know that I'm the person to do that.
So how was your day today?
It was good, very good. Yeah, we're just doing some packages up here.
Perfect, perfect.
Audrey Auriga is the only major candidate who hasn't worked in the auto industry. She's a lawyer and breast cancer survivor who's carrying the Liberal banner in what used to be a safe red stronghold, but isn't anymore.
You know, knocking on doors, talking to people and the voters, it's time for real change. They're very tired of this tired, secretive, divisive government that we have right now.
Essex is a rural riding that surrounds Windsor on the southwestern tip of Ontario. It's bordered on three sides by water. Essex runs from Lake St. Clair in the north to Lake Erie in the south, with the Detroit River separating it from Michigan to the west. 118,000 people live in this riding, and it's very white. Only 4% are visible minorities. It's made up of dozens of villages dotted through 5 sprawling municipalities, like LaSalle, a comfortable bedroom community on the outskirts of Windsor, and Amherstburg, just across the river from the U.S., once the end of the Underground Railroad for African Americans fleeing slavery. Many live off farming, their fields, mostly cash crops like soy and corn, now overshadowed by controversial industrial wind turbines. About 12,000 Essex residents work in the auto industry for Fiat Chrysler and Ford, the only 2 plants left in Windsor, or for auto part makers and other suppliers. But the automotive capital of Canada is a shadow of what it used to be, hit hard by downsizing as assembly lines moved abroad. At almost 10%, Windsor has the highest unemployment rate in Canada, and Essex feels the fallout. Only 10% of adults here have a university education, yet the average family income is $101,000, just above the national average. Jennifer Cranston covers the riding for the Essex Free Press.
Okay, well, Essex is heavy agricultural, so we have a lot of people who are, worried about the things that affect agriculture, from fuel to trade. And then we have a heavy, heavy union presence in this region. We've got a lot of manufacturing, and that's a very vocal group.
Essex was long a Liberal fiefdom ruled by Eugene Whelan, the former agriculture minister, famous for his green Stetson. In lockstep with Pierre Trudeau, Whelan was first elected in 1968 and held the riding until 1984. The NDP then won twice, but in 1993, Whelan's daughter, Susan, brought it back into the Liberal fold and served as MP for 9 years. But the family dynasty came to an abrupt end in 2004. The current MP, Jeff Watson, squeaked through with a narrow victory over Whelan, the first Conservative ever to win in Essex. The Liberals dubbed him the mistake by the lake, but he's now won 4 times in a row by ever-increasing margins. In the last election, he took 48% of the vote and beat the second-place NDP by 7,000 votes. Still, the New Democrats are confident they can beat him this time. The party holds all 3 provincial ridings in the Windsor area and 2 of the federal ridings. They're now targeting Essex, the only blue seat, in hopes of making it an orange sweep. So, Tracy, you have a 7,000 vote deficit to make up. How do you do it?
Hard work. We're out there every day canvassing as much as we can. Our phone banks are full. A whole lot of volunteers that are coming in and helping out, and just continue to work as hard as we possibly can.
You've got some powerful allies. Taras Natashak,
Yes.
the provincial MPP who lost 3 times to Jeff Watson federally, is behind you.
Yes.
Unifor, the auto workers union, is behind you. Those are powerful machines.
They are, and I'm very thankful to have them on my side and to be fighting for change here in Essex. I think it's incredibly important, and when people who are in those leadership roles are speaking out and saying that we desperately need that, I'm very thankful that they're putting their support behind me.
What is your case for change, for getting rid of the Conservative MP here and the Conservative government?
The case for change is that we feel left behind down here in Essex, that our riding has had a representative who hasn't been here fighting for jobs. We've had many closures. We look at Amherstburg, one of our small communities that make up the riding. They've lost 5,000 manufacturing jobs since 2000, and no one has stood up to fight on their behalf. So it's about the bleeding of jobs out of our community. It's about people needing access to health care and those dollars coming from the federal government. It's about our veterans. It's about the Veterans Affairs Office being closed down and no one fighting for that from the federal government. And the Conservatives not taking the time to come down and the current representative to see what matters to people in this riding.
The change vote here seems to be coalescing around the NDP. Why are the Liberals in such dire straits in a riding they used to be so powerful?
I think it speaks to their governance in the past, that people have seen the Liberal government federally and they're not happy with what they represent. Certainly provincially, the Liberals are not favoured down here in southwestern Ontario, and that is impacting the way that people feel about the Liberals currently.
Jeff Watson says that he has brought billions of dollars of investment into this community. He has saved the auto industry. Does he have a foot up because of his record and because he's the incumbent?
I mean, he has the strength of an incumbent being there for 10 years, but after 10 years, we are no better off in this riding than we were when he started. And again, there is no one in this community who's fighting for us, and Jeff Watson has not been doing that. So this is what people are truly looking for, someone to stand up, to be their voice. They also feel that Jeff Watson is bringing the conservative mindset of Ottawa back to Essex versus having Essex being heard in Ottawa. So there's a lot of people who are expressing that to me, and that they are not receiving the services that they feel they should be from him in particular.
So you won quite handily last time, yet the NDP's convinced that they can take you out. What are you up against?
This has always been a competitive riding. I don't think there's any secret to that. The first time I won, I won by 829 votes, and we tackle it the same way all the time. Elections are, in many respects, very simple. You go out, you identify your votes, and you get people out to vote. And it's that simple.
But the NDP's got a lot of union support. How's that working?
The NDP always has union support. We have the, your average grassroots folks, the pensioners who don't earn a lot of money but might make a $50 donation to your campaign, or we've got young families who don't always have lots of time on their hands to get out and volunteer for campaigns, but they give a little bit here and there to do that. And we always find a way to win.
You said the way the unions are targeting you, you said it's almost personal. Explain that. In what sense? They've thrown every national labor leader into this race against me so far. More are slated to come in the days ahead. I can only conclude from that not only are the unions really the foot soldiers for the New Democratic Party in this area, but that it's almost personal. I campaigned in the last election. I don't know if anybody else ever did, but I campaigned in the last election on bringing forward a bill to look at union transparency. My years on the shop floor, our great frustration was that we never really got the financial information that they always said we were entitled to, other than a generic statement.
We knew that this was the best way to ensure that members without any fear or intimidation could get information and make decisions about how to hold their leadership accountable. The unions have taken that as somehow an anti-union measure when in fact it's to strengthen the democracy of unions and the accountability to members by the leadership. But they can conclude what they will and they'll act accordingly. Obviously they're targeting me in this riding very heavily.
There's a lot of talk in this election campaign that it's time for a change. How do you counter that?
The NDP and the Liberals are proposing risk, not change. And I think, it's important to look at what the alternatives are really standing for. When you raise taxes on Ford, Chrysler, on the auto parts sector, the family farm for that matter, when you're increasing mandatory payroll costs to small and big businesses alike, when you're imposing new cap and trade taxes, which affect consumers, not just the businesses, the net effect of that are hundreds of thousands of job losses. And that's not something this region can sustain. So, it's one thing to say you're for change, but their change is risk.
This used to be a Liberal dynasty, or at least a Whalen family dynasty. What happened?
Well, it's Canadian voters. They have an opportunity for change, and I guess they felt at the time that it was time for change, and they feel that now as well. It really is time for change.
What makes you think the change will be towards the Liberals? What makes you think the Liberals can get back on track in this riding?
Have you seen the unemployment rate in this area? We have the highest unemployment rate and the second highest youth unemployment rate in the country. The Harper government has done no favors for this region, whether it's lack of auto strategy, whether it's lack of manufacturing strategy. We have suffered these last 10 years, and it's definitely time for change. And I'm hearing that at the door when I go knock at the door.
You're the only one of the three main candidates who doesn't have a history in the auto industry. Does that hurt?
I'm hoping not. I have a history being a farm girl, I'm a lawyer, I'm a human resource professional, so I understand, having worked in the long-term care sector for 17 plus years, I understand seniors, and we do have a very large seniors population here. I understand the needs of caregivers and their families, so I can fully support seniors. The farming community, just today we had a press conference where we highlighted the issues of the dairy farmers and the possible annihilation of the dairy industry given the possible ramifications of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So again, I understand a whole lot of aspects of the region, and I think I can represent all facets of the region.
The NDP won here big in the provincial election, and the change vote in the federal campaign seems to be going their way. How do you get that change vote from the NDP?
Taras Natashek has been working very hard with Tracy, and they have a formidable machine. The problem is, if you take a look at what the NDP platform is, and our voters are very educated, the platform for the NDP is one somewhere down the road, 8, 10 years. It's a plan to have a plan, to create a plan, but there's nothing tangible. Our platform is so much better for the residents of Essex. It happens immediately. There will be jobs, there will be change, there will be impact now. And it's not going to have to take 8 to 10 years for a change to happen.
Jen, how's your campaign going? I'm excited to see you running. And
it's going. It's been a good start. I was a little late.
Jennifer Alderson helps manage a local farmers market. She signed on to run for the Greens midway through the campaign after learning that the party had no candidate. Jennifer, you're a very honest candidate. You're one of the first I've ever met who has already admitted publicly you have no chance to win.
Well, I hate to say that. I hate to say that I have no chance to win. I mean, there's a chance, sure. I like to be optimistic. I like to be positive. Unfortunately, I just like to see a higher percentage of the vote for the Green Party. Whether a win isn't what I'm expecting, it would be great, but
so
what I'm looking for.
What are you trying to accomplish? What's the message you're trying to get out in this campaign here?
The message is there is other parties. It's not just blue, red, and orange. There's other parties. So, there's a Green Party. Is a big party in other areas. Unfortunately, out here, now some people haven't heard of it. Others have heard of it, but they aren't totally sure about what we offer. They think we're just environmentalists. They think, you know, some of us think we're hippies or a fringe party. We're trying to get the message out that we have a great platform. We have a fully costed platform.
What's your campaign budget? What kind of campaign operation do you have?
I have no organizations behind me. I have no riding association in this area, so I have a $0 budget. Right now I'm doing everything on my own without any support financially. I will be leaning on some volunteers in the next 2 weeks to get out and do some canvassing with them, but I am not seeking any funding whatsoever, so it's a $0 campaign.
Any concern about vote splitting, that every vote you get might be one that would have otherwise gone to one of the other opposition parties, so in fact any vote you get might help ensure the Conservatives are re-elected?
Vote splitting, yes, is a concern. Many people have raised with me, knocking on doors, talking with friends, talking with the media. It is a huge concern. However, we need to think that you should vote for the person who will best represent the area. We have to think about the county. We can't just think about who's going to get in power nationally. We have to think about who will represent your riding.
We don't need a backbencher who proudly calls himself the billion-dollar MP.
At an all-candidates debate sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, the three Essex hopefuls make their pitch.
Our plan of low taxes, training, trade deals, strategic investments in infrastructure will help us create 1.3 million more well-paying jobs by 2020. By contrast, the NDP will hike taxes on the auto sector and the farm and will impose green energy policies like the Ontario Liberals did, killing at least 250,000 Canadian jobs.
This campaign is about change. The people of Essex are ready for change. Tom Mulcair and the NDP are ready for change. New Democrats have a concrete plan. It's balanced, it's responsible, it's strategic. I look forward to hearing your questions and talking more about Tom Mulcair's concrete plan to undo Harper's damage.
I'm Audrey Auriga. I'm the most qualified candidate to represent the constituents of Essex. Having grown up on a family farm, which my parents still operate today, and as a member of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, I know firsthand the struggles that farmers and those in the agri-food industry face today and on a day-to-day basis. And you can rest assured, I will be a strong and influential voice for the agriculture and the agri-food industry.
You can expect some discussion.
Hanging over the race, the prospect of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a trade deal that could mean stiffer foreign competition for automakers and dairy farmers. That makes it a tricky local issue for the two frontrunners.
What we need are more trade deals, not fewer. We've already signed with South Korea and the European Union, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership will be an important agreement for agricultural producers across this country.
And what we see from the Conservatives right now is a shroud of secrecy. If the TPP deal is so good for auto, if the TPP deal is so good for dairy, then why isn't the Conservatives sharing that information with those sectors?
The plan that starts now.
But their sharpest exchange on terrorism and security.
New Democrats have not supported a single piece of anti-terrorism legislation ever. And by the way, Ms. Ramsey personally hasn't. She tweeted out that S7, our Anti-Terrorism Act, should be opposed. She didn't support that, nor will she take the steps necessary if elected to keep you safe. We will.
Thank you so much.
It's the politics of fear, it's the politics of division and distraction that are talking about terrorism when we clearly have an issue with jobs inside of our community. When I am going door to door, I am not hearing people tell me about their extreme fear of terrorism in our country. What I'm hearing people tell me is that they cannot find work.
For Watson, fears about security are real and personal. Our conversation was interrupted when a car backfired.
When I found the opportunities potentially are very good, and of course we have to be in there.
He reacted as if it was a gunshot. Oh my God. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Strangely familiar to October 22nd.
Is that a stress thing?
Just a flashback. Forgive me. Sorry.
Wow.
So sorry about that.
Wow. So October 22nd, the shooting on Parliament Hill. What's the flashback?
Just the... I don't even know how you articulate it, to have a You know, a terrorist-inspired gunman only feet from you, the aftermath particularly, when the shooting stopped, the only thought you have is they're coming for you next. And you know, those moments go through your head. I never had the opportunity to tell my wife I loved her or my kids before I walked out the door that morning, and you never know what you're facing. So thank God, you know, that the incident in the end was taken care of, and of course it's why we also have to pay a lot of attention to what we're doing, both to confront terrorism abroad and you know, to look at these issues here at home, how we keep ourselves safe. But
Tracy Ramsey has her own personal trauma too, being laid off.
In 2008, I had been at Ford Motor Company and felt quite secure in my job, you know, and received a layoff notice, which, you know, when you receive that, the impact on your family, on all of the decisions that you make in your life, it's very devastating.
She was eventually called back to work, but feels for all the others who weren't.
At the time that I started working at Ford Motor Company, we had 6,700 people. We're down to 1,500 people, and that impact has been devastating on the morale of everyone who works there. We've seen our friends, our family. My brother is currently laid off from Ford. We still have laid off members, and auto has just been devastated in this region.
As for the Liberals, their problems here are partly due to complaints about their provincial cousins over green energy, rising electricity prices, and labor disputes with teachers. Many here are especially angry about the 300-plus turbines put up or planned under Ontario's green energy program.
Not a lot of people around here are thrilled with things like the wind turbines. Right, green energy is a good idea. I don't think a lot of people around here are happy with the way it's been implemented. They don't want to look at the turbines. They don't want to hear the turbines. They blame the green energy policies for our ridiculous hydro bills. You know, people are having a hard time paying their bills, and a lot of people are blaming the Liberals for that. Even, you know, because we're manufacturing, we've had owners of huge manufacturing employers say, it's becoming impossible for us to do business here. We're going to have to take our business and our jobs elsewhere because we can't afford electricity. And a lot of people are blaming the Liberals for that. So you've got the Wynne Liberals are kind of bleeding over onto the Trudeau Liberals.
It's hurting the Liberal brand federally.
Well, I think it is, yeah. I think it absolutely is.
Kathleen Wynne, the Ontario Premier, doesn't seem to be very popular here, yet she's out campaigning hard for Justin Trudeau. Does that help you here or hurt you?
Well, that's a very, very good question. Certainly when I'm knocking on the doors, I do hear that Kathleen Wynne is a factor. Right now, as well as you know, the public school sector hasn't quite finalized their negotiations either. So yeah, I hear it at the door.
Hey, how are you today?
Sure enough, as she goes canvassing, it doesn't take long to feel the blowback.
I'm Audrey Auriga. I'm the federal Liberal candidate. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
The very first door is answered by an upset teacher.
Have you decided how you're voting? Any questions? Anything I can help with?
No, it's
No.
just separating the federal and the provincial Liberals.
Yeah.
I'm a teacher, and it's not sitting very well with the Liberals right now.
we came here to see each other, so that's...
Unlike many other ridings, the debate here isn't as focused on the relative merits of party leaders. It's more of a personal fight between the local candidates, and the incumbent is the main target.
Jeff Watson has not represented this region to the best of his ability in that he is Ottawa's voice here. He is not the voice of Essex in Ottawa.
Listen, I've been an influential voice for Essex and Ottawa. We have delivered billions in investment to the region. We've saved the auto industry when some in our caucus felt that they shouldn't have been saved. And so you don't achieve a record like that if you're not influential. I think we all understand that things don't just happen in government. You have people in there who are fighting and who bring the investment, who make sure that the right tools are in budgets. We had a National Auto Action Plan in 2008 because I worked with Jim Prentice to ensure that we had a four-pillar strategy, and the first thing we did was save Ford Essex engine plant the job of my NDP opponent, no less. But we had those measures because I've been an influential voice here.
And the thing that really does bother me is when Jeff Watson says that I owe my job to him, because I feel that he owes everyone who is sitting out there still not working, unemployed, all of those 12,000 people owe their unemployment to him for not standing up and fighting in our region.
You can be a voice like the two MPs in Windsor for the New Democrats who spent 13 years maybe or longer in some cases making a lot of noise in Ottawa but delivering nothing to the region. Or people can look at a guy like me who's been an influential voice who's delivered billions and lots of results that matter for families at the end of the day. We have auto workers, people I worked with who still have a job because our government did the right thing and I was in there fighting for that.
Jeff Watson's legacy that he leaves behind is one of unemployment and not a lot of hope for young people in this area.
Have you decided who you're going to vote for and why?
Well, I'm looking more at the NDP, just because of the education aspect of it, being a teacher. They're looking more for the betterment for the education system and the health system, which is important to me.
I'm generally a conservative voter, so that's who I'm going to vote for, and I know Jeff personally, so I think Jeff's a good candidate. I don't know any of the other candidates, but I think the NDP candidate's going to give him a good run, so I'm kind of interested to see on, I think it's the 19th is the election, so it'll be interesting to see the results, because I think it's going to be a good race for this riding.
Honestly, right now, I don't know.
Is there anyone you've ruled out?
Mr. Harper. Absolutely. I'm not happy with what he's done and where we are right now.
So it's anybody but Conservative?
Absolutely.
If you had to make a prediction now on this riding, who wins?
Today? Because it's going to change tomorrow, and it was different yesterday if you look at the polls. But if I had to make a prediction today, I'd say it would be a very, very close race between Jeff Watson and Tracy Ramsey. I would put Ramsey in a very close second today. But as I said, that could change.
What could change it? What do you think in the last weeks of the election, what are the factors that you think will affect the outcome here?
Well, I think, there's a few factors. I think the biggest one for me, though, is that people I'm speaking to have no idea where they're going to vote. We have a huge undecided body of voters in this riding. And people who have voted for a specific party all their life are saying, oh, well, I like this policy and I like this policy, but I just can't vote for that policy, so now I don't know what I'm going to do. And I've heard people from all stripes say that. So we've got a really big undecided, so I'm waiting for that catalyst. I'm waiting for that catalyst that takes that body of voters and moves them in one direction or another, or I'm waiting for them to stay home. And if they stay home, I think things will stay as they are.
Watson wins.
I think so, yeah.
Funny thing, in a riding so big, the campaign offices of the two leading contenders are kitty corner across the main street. The outcome on October 19th may be just as close. For CPAC, I'm Roger Smith in Essex.